Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you already know that this is my series in which I use tarot and oracle cards to explore topics related to living the intentional life. And every week I ask the same question: how can we live this week more intentionally? And if you are a returning visitor, you already know that for the last 2 weeks, we've been exploring the idea of obstacles. This week, we continue with the series. Apparently, the tarot deck that I'm using really wants to emphasize how obstacles are present for us in many different ways, living our lives intentionally. So, the first video was basically how obstacles can be opportunities, can be challenges and a chance for us to evolve. The second week, we talked about obstacles that are clear stop signs. They're saying, whoa, reconsider what you're doing. Are you really ready for this? This week, we're exploring a third kind of obstacle. So, I've got a whole tarot spread all laid out for us. And yeah, let me show it to you right now. This is an amazing spread. I want to say brilliant spread, but since I am the creator of the spread, I don't want to toot my own horn too much. I received this spread. There we go. This is a brilliantly inspired spread. That's the real way I want to say that. Yeah, this was a brilliantly inspired spread by the deck and the divine and the card of the Ace of Discs. And I just did a video explaining this spread in detail and showing you how the spread could work for you if you just wanted to use one deck. And if you're interested in that video, I'll put a card up here for you to hop over and take a look at my deep dive into the functioning of this spread. So there's that. But you just saw the spread. And if you are a first-time visitor, let me give you a brief overview of what you saw. Yeah, there were 4 cards in the center. They give us the main idea, the theme, the thesis statement of the spread. And they're from one tarot deck. Above that group of 4, there were 3 cards, which give us the air. Yeah, our ideas, our thoughts, where our attention is, where our vision is going. Below, there were 3 cards from a 3rd tarot deck, and that gives us our base, our ground, our physicality, where we are sitting, what we are doing in the world, yeah? Our bodies in the physical realm, and how we move and how we interact with the physical realm. The 2 cards on the side of the central 4, they were from 2 different oracle decks, and they give us advice. They combine into one piece of advice. So that's how that is all laid out. And these are beautiful cards, right? Beautiful decks. If you're interested in them, I have to tell you right now that 2 of the decks are currently out of print. They may be reprinted. So let me tell you what I'm going to do. At the end of this video, there will be a short clip that gives you the names of the decks and the names of the creators. In the description box below, there are links for you to go and explore the decks on your own and perhaps purchase the ones that are still available. I don't get any money if you use those links. They're just for your convenience. Now, for the decks that are not currently available, there are links or there's a way for you to perhaps get on a mailing list or an update list so that if and when these decks are available again, you'll get notification. Yeah, so I provided as much as I can possibly think of at the moment. If you can think of some other information that you want, let me know in the comments below. So again, description box for links. At the end of the video, there will be a short video giving you an overview of the decks and the creators. And again, we just saw the whole spread in one large shot. It's time now to focus in on the central four cards, which are, again, the main idea, the thesis statement of this spread. Let's take a look. Beautiful cards, right? Did you notice that two of them were upright and two of them were reversed? Did you notice that the upright cards were kitty corner and the reversed cards were also kitty corner? This is going to give me, or give us, I should say, an indication of how we're going to read this cluster of four. But let me tell you how they came out from the deck. First was, in the upper right-hand corner, Justice, reversed. Then the Magus, or the Magician, upright. Then I pulled the Knight of Cups, which was reversed. And then we had the Eight of Wands, upright. But I'm not going to read them in that order this time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the upright card, the Magus, as the one standing in his power. And then we're going to read the two catty corner reversed, and then we're going to move into the upright minor arcana card in the lower right-hand corner. So let me give you some information about these four cards quickly before we dive into them, because this deck is not based on the Golden Dawn system. This is based on the Continental Tarot system, which predates the Golden Dawn. Golden Dawn Tarot, if you don't know, that includes most of what we're using today. Most of what we're using today. Especially if you're in the United States, almost all of what we're using today. Europe, we still use Tarot de Marseille, which is Continental Tarot. It's part of the Continental Tarot tradition. But Golden Dawn based decks are the RWS. Now, the deck designed by Pamela Coleman Smith, the Smith-Waite deck, and all of the clones and reiterations and reimaginings of that deck, which is the majority of what we see in the market today, and on Kickstarter and independent decks. Most of what we see, especially in the United States, is based on that deck. We also see some of the Harris Crowley deck, the Thoth deck. Aleister Crowley, Lady Frida Harris, together creating that deck, and there are a couple of iterations of that as well. Not as many as the RWS or the Smith-Waite decks. This is based on another system, the Continental system, which predates that. The Golden Dawn was from the very, very late 1800s to the early 1900s, and the Continental Tarot system begins with Tarot de Marseille and the predating decks such as the Visconti Sforza and the Tarot of Budapest, and then develops into things like Tarot de Marseille. And then there are later iterations as well. So this deck here is based on that system. So the associations are different from the Golden Dawn associations. For example, Justice in this deck is associated with Cancer. Not Libra, it's associated with Cancer. The Magus is associated with the element of air. The Knight of Cups is associated with Pisces. So we've got a lot of water two water associations, right? We've got Cancer with Justice, we've got the Knight of Cups with Pisces, both of those in reverse. So we're going to notice a lot of water and air energy in this reading, especially water. Because why? Because the Eight of Wands in reverse is Jupiter in Cancer. So we've got another Cancer right there in the Eight of Wands as well. And we'll get to that in a moment. So that's the overview. Let's start with the Magus. Here's the beautiful card of the Magus from this deck. Let me show it to you up close and personal. I hope there's not much glare. So the Magus, again, is associated with air in this deck. And what can we see? We can see the Magus standing in their power, with wings. We've got wings at the bottom, right? We've got the Magus holding not one wand in the as above, so below gesture, but here we have two Carduceus. I'm sorry. Carduceuses is incorrect. It's Carducei. Yeah, we've got two Carducei, the plural form of Carduceus. Yeah, the wand with the snakes winding up it. We've got this burst of sunlight, sun behind the Magus. We've also got the sun and the moon below. We've got a platform of fire there below, above the wings. We've got the zodiac around the Magus. It's just this gorgeous, very powerful card, right? So, what is this? The Magus, especially in this deck, is a card of our imagination. It's a card of our genius. Genius. What is genius? Genius is also where we get the idea of genie. So in modern day, we think of genius as being somebody who's really, really smart, right? Somebody who's really smart, especially perhaps in a specific area, like a math genius or a music genius, somebody who's really, really clever. Genius had a different meaning in the past. Genius, we each have a genius. That is our spirit wisdom that guides our lives. That our magical, unique spirit that informs how we live our lives and the path we want to live. Now, our genius we could see as our navigator on the course of the powerful current of intention, if that makes sense. So the Magus is our imagination and it's our genius, each of our geniuses. It's our coming awake to our true nature as the divine having a human experience and seeking our path of return to the divine. Now, we've come into these bodies, we've co-created these beautiful bodies that we hopefully understand that we came to enjoy. We came to enjoy the physicality of being in a physical body, in a physical universe. And still, we want to awaken within this physical universe, awaken to our divine nature, and awaken to our path in return to the divine. Now, we're all going to return to the divine. And we also want to realize that we've never left the divine. There's no separation between us and whatever we want to call the divine, be it God, be it cosmic mother, be it the universe, be it the cosmic consciousness, be it Allah, be it Brahman, be it whatever great spirit. Whatever we call that divine mind, which is the creating entity of this physical universe. We know that we're never separated from that, and that we are that. And so we awaken in this card to our true nature and the path returning to full communion, which was never cut off, which was never interrupted. So it's a realization of the full communion. That's the path. Does that make sense? So we remember we are the divine and we are co-creators. We're co-creators. We embody to serve creation as well. Now, I'm not going to give us numbers because that's a detrimental judgment. I'm not going to say a lot of us think this. There are those of us who think that the life of manifestation, the life of, for example, the law of attraction, which I am a firm believer in, have faith in, and know as the truth, all of that. Some of us think that the law of attraction, whether we like it or not, is a selfish thing. We come to get what we want. And we do get what we want. But who is the we that is wanting? We don't come here to manifest the things that the disturbed ego thinks it wants. Does that make sense? We don't come here to manifest the things that we think will fix our lives, the things that we think will make us happy. We come here into these physical bodies to be happy, and as happy beings to manifest that the eternal nature that we are wants, desires to experience in this physical universe. And we do. We came into these bodies because we had the joyful desire to experience. And the eternal nature that we are enjoys playing in that space. And as we play in that space, the things that we want to create are not only for our own benefit, but for the benefit of those around us. It's not a selfish desire. It's a co-creative desire. It's for the joy and for the blessing and for the benefit of all of creation. Those are the things that we want to create. Yeah? So we also embody to serve this creation. Serve. What does that mean? I think there are some of us who think of the word as serve as a slave to, or a lowly servant of the other. The poor one who comes and yes, I offer you who is greater than I. That's not the service that we're talking about here. If you are Christian, this will be meaningful to you. Jesus Christ manifested a body here in this universe to serve others, not as the lowly one, not as the poor one, but as the divine, as the brother of the other, as the brother of all of us, as the exemplar of all of us. The role of the servant is actually the most significant role that we can play here in this universe. It is the role of majesty. It is the role of creator. That is the true understanding of service. We don't serve because we have a master to serve. We serve because we are the brothers of all, and sisters of all, and non-binary siblings of all, whatever. I mean, we've got so much gender attached to so much of our language that throws some of us off when we hear the word brother. Well, I'm not a brother, I'm a sister. I'm not a brother, I don't have gender. We're all brothers, we're all sisters, we're all siblings. So we serve as siblings of each other. And those two caduceae, they are our personal potential for our interaction. They're not separate, but we usually think of them as two different realms, our inner and our outer realm. And so the magician, the magus, holds both of them equally because they aren't different, they aren't separate, and one is not more important than the other. Yeah, we have one caduceus of our magical power in the external realm interacting with those around us. We have one caduceus for our internal power, our internal magic, our internal manifestational ability. We have personal potential and cosmic potential as well. And so we have these two caduceae of power in our hands, standing in our majesty. And we are tutored by the anima mundi, Sophia, the divine, the Holy Spirit, the divine self which enters into and creates this physical universe from itself. So it's like, what do we have? We have like this divine mind within which the divine mind creates from itself, within itself, of itself, this physical universe. And that element, that aspect of the divine mind, we often name Anima Mundi, Sophia, the Holy Spirit. So we are tutored by that. We learn from that. Because that divine spirit, that Anima Mundi, the Sophia, calls forth from our unique creative ability, our unique creativity, our genius. So it's also that awakening. Yeah, the divine is calling to us as we realize our path of re-embodiment of the fullness of our communion with the divine. That's what this card represents for us in this spread. There's all of that power as co-creators, our eternal selves, our divine selves, manifesting in these beautiful bodies, in this beautiful universe. We have all of that at our command, at our will. I'll go ahead and say it. Our will, our eternal, divine, non-physical will. So we have all of that. So why isn't everything that we want, bang, happening for us in the moment? Why do we notice that there are barriers? Well, we talked about two possibilities in the last 2 weeks. One is that, well, this barrier is actually an opportunity. We're misappreciating it. We're misconstruing this thing that appears as an obstacle because it's really a challenge. It's really something for our evolution. Or the next week we realize that, yes, some obstacles are actually obstacles and we're there saying, whoa, Nere, and stop and reconsider the direction we're going in. Maybe we're not ready. Maybe there's something else. This week, we're realizing there's something else that is possible. That possibility is the next two cards, which were reversed. Yeah? Justice reversed and the Knight of Cups reversed. And what did we see? We saw the Magus. We saw where the Magus wants to go in the Eight of Wands. And these two cards are blocking the path. So, are these people from the outside? Could be. But I think if they are people from the outside, their role is a projection of our own inner reversed justice and our own inner reversed Knight of Cups. And are these the only possibilities? No. But these are the two possibilities that were given for us in this spread. So let's examine them and see how much of the one or both of them resonates for us. For me, both resonate. I'd be interested to know which of them, or perhaps if both of them resonate with you, or perhaps if when we discuss these two cards, perhaps something else from within that you notice is struggling and calling out to be seen. Maybe you notice a different obstacle that you place in your own way. So, this is group analysis, folks, done by somebody unqualified for it. But the cards are helping us. The cards are guiding us. So, what do we have here? Justice. I mentioned justice in this deck is Cancer. And the astrological sign Cancer. Now, what is Cancer? Cancer is the crab or the crustacean. Some people think of it, I've heard other people talk about it as perhaps another kind of creature, but still, generally, we think of it as a crustacean, generally a crab. Hard shell, soft inner side. Yeah, it's a water suit. It's an emotional suit. The crab has boundaries. The crab has limits. The crab has a shell, but the crab also defends those that it has drawn into its inner circle. The crab supports those around them, emotionally feeds those around them, but also is ready to defend those around them. They're peeps, as some people say. Let me show you the Justice card upright. We've got this beautiful, in the background, I don't know if you can see that here. We've got this beautiful sacred geometrical shape, very finely drawn with zodiacal symbols. We've got the balance. We've got the scales in one hand. We've got the sword in the other. We've got this fairly barren looking tree in the background, right? Well, no, it's not that barren. I'm sorry. My Xerox copy in front of me in black and white, small, looked barren, but no, we've got life on the tree. It's a living tree. But can you see what's in the scales? It's very interesting. Instead of empty scales or a scale with a heart and a scale with a feather, reminding us of Mat from Egypt, we've got a scale with water and a scale with fire. Still, balancing elemental, not opposites, but elemental pairs. Elemental partners, fire and water. So, it's a beautiful card. And you notice the air is breathing through this card as well. So we do have a little bit of that air indicated in this gorgeous card, which is still Cancer, and it's still a water sign. So in reverse, what does this Justice card tell us? This Justice card is remains, it still has its base meaning as the Justice card upright, but in its harsher aspect. So, vision and analysis to achieve balance. We've still got that here in this card, being Cancer. Now, for example, the elements are being weighed, right? The elements of fire and water are being weighed in the balance in preparation for the alchemy at the end of this septenary, which is Temperance. Now, this is card 8 in this deck and Tarot de Marseille. Do you know septenary? Septenary is a group of 7, right? So the first 7 cards are one group, the next 7 cards are another group, and the next 7 cards are the third group, going up to 21, and then the Fool is 0, 22, depends on the system you're working with and the idea of that creator. So this is the beginning of the second septenary, which culminates in Temperance, card 14. So this balancing of elements, if we can think of it this way, will flow through the septenary to the alchemical combination, combining of those 2 elements to create the third gold, the third thing, the new thing, the blessing, the individuation, the desired philosopher's stone, the universal medicine. So this is the first step on that path, right? The balancing, the weighing of elements. So in this card, we also learn to place ourselves in the place of those we impact. We put ourselves in the place of those we impact, the feelings and the reality of others as important as our own, which is really Cancer kind of thing, right? The emotional, the empathic understanding of how is what I'm doing, what I'm thinking affecting those around me, because I'm putting myself in their shoes, right? That's another element of justice. We don't only analyze, we don't only evaluate from a stance of separation. We evaluate from a stance of, what if it were me? How would I feel? How would I react? what would I want if I were in that situation? What would be my justice if I were there? And what would they feel if they were receiving my manifestation? I manifest, I create, I co-create, but how is this co-creation affecting those around me? And I do that from a very empathetic stance, not from trying to figure it out from the outside, but trying to understand from the inside, from the emotional place. So all of that is wonderful, right? All that leads to a sense of justice, of balance, of fairness, of mutual benefit. Now, when we go into reverse for this card, it gets a little harsher. Now, it's a harsh path to justice, which reminds me of Solomon from the Bible. There's the story of Solomon in the Bible where two mothers are coming up with one baby, and both of them are saying, this baby is mine. So after a lot of argumentation and discussion, Solomon says, fine, just stop. Since we can't figure it out, what I'll do is I'll cut the baby in half, and you can each have half and go your separate ways. Now that's a very harsh form of justice, right? Now, the reason why Solomon does that is Solomon knows that the real mother is going to say, no, I'll do anything for my baby. I'll give it up if I have to, just so that my baby is healthy and lives. And that's what happens. But that decision of, okay, we'll cut the baby in half. That's the harsh side of justice, right? Now, Solomon doesn't actually do that, but it's that idea of harshness that is the card in reverse to me. It's also the idea of, yeah, we can do what we want, but we can't avoid the consequences. It's the karma card, the harshness of karma. So we create, and we know that we're going to get the repercussions. If we create to serve, we will also receive benefit. If we create to harm, we will be harmed. More than with the harm that we do, probably. So we can also, it's important to remember that we can also be harsh judges of others as well, right? We see the actions of others, we don't like it, and we get really, really critical. We get really, that's not right. We get on our high horse, and whether we express it or not, we criticize, we blame, we say, that's not right, I know what's right. We can become the harsh critic. Our superegos can take over. And when that happens, we block our own way. Because that's a lot of negativity, right? All of that negativity, all of that harshness cuts us off from the powerful flow of intention. Not completely. We cannot separate ourselves from intention completely. But we can pinch ourselves off really well. We can close ourselves off so that there's only a little bit of movement available to us. Like if you imagine a boat on top of a river floating freely, open to the breeze, open to catching the breeze as we move forward, open to the flow of the current, very open to access to the power of intention. Now imagine that same boat wrapping in upon itself, closing itself down into a very dense ball. What will happen? Will it leave the river? No. But it'll sink. It'll sink down to the bottom if it's closed up enough. And how well will it be moving forward with the current? Not so well. It'll move. Rocks in rivers move, but they move very slowly, right? So we don't cut ourselves off from access, but we can really reduce the power that's available to us. And that's what happens, one of the things that happens when we become justice reversed, when we become that really harsh critic of ourselves and others. Some of us have wonderful interactions with other people. We think everybody is wonderful, you're beautiful, you're living your most beautiful life. And then secretly in the quiet of our hearts, we are blaming ourselves for not being good enough, for not being smart enough, for not being creative enough, for not being enough, or for making mistakes. Being creative enough, but not doing it right. Right? You ever notice yourself criticizing yourself? When we do, we're moving into the area of justice reversed. Now, what was the other card blocking us? Another water card, right? Here we have Pisces. Let me show you the Knight of Cups. I'm sorry, not the Knight. Yeah, the Knight of Cups. I'm sorry, did I say page before? It's the Knight of Cups. This is what he looks like upright. Beautiful card. Now we've got the sun below, the moon below the knight's feet. We've got the knight pouring this beautiful jug of liquid into the moon, into the waters below. We've got what looks like a moon shape above, but it's a red thing. So there's that red and blue, maybe yin-yang balance. Or in Korean, yang. Would be in the bottom, yang would be on top. Active, passive, blue, red. So the active is on top, the passive is on the bottom, and so the active is free to move, the passive is free to receive, and here the blue is receiving. We've got this ocean, what could be a sea green ocean behind, and the blue clear sky behind. This beautiful, beautiful, beautiful night upright. Pisces, all of the good things, the beautiful things of Pisces. Now Pisces, in reverse, this is still Pisces. Upright, Pisces has gentle manners, has a poetic voice, and can heal and purify those around them. Pisces also comes through and clears up the mess that all the other signs have left behind to mulch, to create the fertilizer for the next cycle of the signs, for Aries to be born again, be born anew. So Pisces does a really important job for us. And Pisces has a beautiful romance about them. It can be very attractive if we are open to observing a Pisces. But we got this card in reverse, right? Here, the active is below and weighed down by the passive. They haven't disappeared, but they're a little bit topsy-turvy, perhaps, in the universe. So, this Pisces is still singing the songs. This Pisces is still reading the poetry. This Pisces is still inspiring others. And this Pisces can also inspire the longings for mystical love from those around them, him, her, them. However, because this card is reversed, we also notice that show of poetry and music and mysticism, the outward show and the inward show, there is a gap between that nary a person will be able to cross. There is what would be the reverse of a moat. Yeah, we've got water on the outside, we've got water on the inside, and in between there is this void of space that no one's going to be able to cross. Because in reverse, this Pisces is really very self-involved, is really caught up in their own private, mystical world and is not going to let anybody else in. So they put on this beautiful show for those around, but there's this, I don't want to say a wall, but there's this void in between in which nobody is able to really cross. If you get near the void, you'll just get sucked down and sucked in, and not into the night, but sucked into the void and get lost, or feel neglected, or feel unappreciated, or unobserved, or unseen. Does that make sense? So this night is emotionally unavailable. Though the longing is inspired, it's not fulfilled. Because this night wants to avoid the complexities and the messiness of relationships. Now, relationships, in the honeymoon period, they're wonderful, they're bright, they're sunny, they're shiny, they're exciting. But after time, each of our shadow selves, our unconscious selves, begins to rear their heads, and surprising elements start to show up in ourselves and in others, and there's a little messiness, and sometimes a lot of messiness in that. So this Pisces can sometimes be connected with nature. Yeah? The trees, the oceans, the rivers, sometimes the mountains, but I would probably guess more oceans and rivers and level places and flowers, all of those romantic things. Rather than the tall, majestic things, I would think most of these Pisces would be more interested in the romantic and deep things and the beautiful things and the soft things in nature, but not other people so much. Because there might be a reason for that. There might be the reason of wanting to cleanse themselves of the stuff that they've accumulated from their past experience, the karmic accretions, their karmic detritus that they've collected over time, and they just want to clean themselves off. And one way to clean ourselves off is by being in nature, right? And not creating new karma by interacting with other people. So that might be a reason for their self-involvement behind the mask of poetry and music. Now, that void, that reverse moat, is also an obstacle, right? It's an obstacle with our interpersonal relationships, which we came here to do and be and have. Although if we didn't want interpersonal relationships, we wouldn't manifest in this world, this universe of duality, of I and other. We came here for that. And when we notice ourselves disassociating as a general pattern of behavior, we notice that we have created another kind of obstacle for ourselves. Now, there are some times when we do want to disassociate because there's some healing that wants to happen. We do want to cleanse ourselves of the detritus we've collected. But we don't want that to be our new lifestyle. Right? It's like a moment in a hospital where we heal and recover, and then we move out of the hospital. We don't spend the rest of our lives in the hospital if we can help it. Because that life in the hospital is an obstacle to our eventual progress forward with our powerful currents of intention. Speaking metaphorically, of course. Of course, there are times when there are those of us need to be in hospitals, whatever that form may be. It could be a hospital for long-term care because we are no longer able to care for ourselves outside of a hospital. It could be a hospital for psychiatric care, and psychiatric maintenance and psychiatric guidance. And I'm not saying that people who are in actual hospitals are no longer living intentional lives. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying metaphorically. That's a metaphor for a healthy person who doesn't necessarily need to live in a hospital. When we're in the hospital, it's an interruption of the flow of our intention. And sometimes we need that. We want that because we want to do that work of clearing up, cleaning up, healing. But again, we don't necessarily want that to be our new lifestyle. So we want to be able to turn that Knight of Cups and that Justice card back upright. But here in the reverse side, it's us creating our own obstacles by either our harshness, our criticism, self-criticism, criticism of others, or by our emotional detachment, by our not letting other people in, by putting on a show, but not really opening the inner gates of our inner sanctum. Of course, we're not saying that we don't want boundaries, that boundaries are unhealthy either, but that boundary is exaggerated to a void with no doors in the Knight of Cups reversed. So, though that's the obstacle, where does the Magus want to be going? What's on the other side of that obstacle? If we clear those obstacles away, where are we headed? Well, we're headed to the Eight of Wands, a beautiful card. Generally, it's the Sun in Sagittarius, a fiery planet in a fiery sign. But it's also Jupiter in Cancer. Expansive emotions as well. In the Eight of Wands upright, we notice the fire, right? There's the sun blasting this side of the card with all that fire, but right next to the fire, there's this green, lush hill, right? And there are also trees. And there's also the Caduceus of the magician right there. A crown, a regal, a royal, a divinely crowned Magus is Caduceus. Did that make sense? Yeah, it's like we've gotten the royal, the coronation from the divine to our inner regality with our wand of power. Here united, instead of two, we've got one wand of power. And that wand of power is also a cross, right? So we do serve those around us in this card as well. So we have that fire. That fire is destructive. Clearly it's destructive. But it also clears the earth. It clears the earth and feeds the earth for new growth to begin. So that fire in the upright position is beneficial. It's clearing out our pasture for a new planting and new harvest. This energy brings us closer to our goal, closer to the manifestations we want to create with our wand of power. So we want to be prepared. We want to be prepared for entering into this because this is a highly energetic state. So, before we clear out those, before or as we clear away the obstacles that we've placed in our own path, we want to be ready for things to start gearing up. Because this path can unfold very quickly. So we might want to think, where am I being prepared and prodded and pushed into spontaneous transformation? Because once those obstacles are cleared and we're in our power, transformation can happen almost instantaneously, or quicker than we imagine that it can, because we're blocking ourselves and we think everything has to take a long time. But once the obstacles are cleared, especially the ones that we put in our own path, things can happen very quickly. When we open to the power of intention, and boom, we're moving with the current. Like a growth spurt. Did you have one when you were a teenager? Are you a teenager? Are you younger than a teenager? If you're younger than a teenager, get one of your parents to watch this. But if you're past your teenage years, do you remember having a growth spurt? Was it comfortable? Did it hurt? Did you have those growing pains? Well, things that happen very quickly might be uncomfortable. They might be unsettling, but they're also things that we want. And if we're prepared for them, we can enjoy the process, even though it seems like, whoa, this roller coaster ride suddenly got really fast. Like we've been going up on the roller coaster, and then suddenly it's time to boom, move forward. So that's what this spread is talking to us, is reminding us of, that we can be our own obstacle. And two of those possibilities might be emotional detachment, not being fully engaged with those around us. Or being fully engaged, but hypercritical of those around us and ourselves. Because when we do that, we block our own energy. And when we detach, and we think we're in this space of personal power, removed from other people, not only can they not have access to us, we don't have access to them. We don't have access to their input, to their energy, to their love, to their joy, to their wellness, which could be feeding us as well. Right? So if we can clear those things away, or perhaps you've noticed another kind of obstacle that sprung to your mind as we were discussing those. We clear those away, then we can do this again. We can have that growth spurt again. And it won't necessarily be a physical growth spurt. It could be an emotional growth spurt. It could be a transformational growth spurt in our lives. We could start manifesting stuff right and left. Because our wand is now crowned. It's now a regal wand, a caduceus of power and service. So these cards are again, a very intense and very important reading for us. And we've got two sets of cards above, below, and we've got advice to get to. So let's move above to the air, because this is very interesting. Well, the whole thing is interesting, but this is also very interesting. Let's look at the air cards right now. In the air section of this spread, what did we have? Now, this was really amazing to me. What did you notice? What was the suit of all three cards? All three cards were the swords in the air. Perfect match, and still not the happiest of cards, right? First one was really happy. We started on the left with the Ace of Swords, and that's the way the cards were laid, and that's the direction that we're going to be reading them in. We're going to start with the Ace of Swords. And then we move into the Five of Swords. Not the happiest of cards. And then we moved into the Three of Swords. Another not very happy card. So what is this telling us? Well, let's look at the Ace of Swords here. Instead of in the Tarot de Marseille or in Pamela Coleman-Smith's deck, we don't have the hand reaching through a cloud like a divine spiritual hand, handing us a sword with a crown and vegetation, laurel or bay leaves, branches, not leaves, I'm sorry, bay branch or a laurel branch inside and draping outside of the crown. What do we have? We've got this singular sword somewhat transparent. In the foreground and behind, we have a Pegasus reared up on the top of a cliff, a very high cliff, right? With dark clouds behind and a little bit of light from behind the clouds shining forth. Very blue. I'm sorry, the dark clouds. Okay, again, I was looking at my black and white image as I was showing you this. So the dark clouds, maybe not dark clouds. We've got dark sky and we've got kind of an aqua colored sky. It's really hard to tell what is cloud and what is not. So there's darkness and there is a lightness to it. On the left to me there is darkness, on the right to me there is lightness, and there's a sword piercing through, and again this Pegasus creature. Ace of Swords. What is the Ace of Swords? The Ace of Swords is breakthrough. It's new ideas, right? It's the start of the idea of mind. So it's that burst of thought, burst of idea, burst of vision, a new vision, something we see. It's the germ of a broad vision. It's not the whole vision, it's the beginning, right? Also, mental clarity. Now that sword we think of as cutting through the clouds, getting fresh mental clarity, truth, honesty. But again, it's not the fullness of honesty and truth that we might see in, for example, the King of Swords or the Queen of Swords. This is the seed, the germ, the beginning of all of that. It could be valiance, yeah? This Pegasus also reminds me of the valiant one. Beginning the journey of thought. Beginning the journey of honesty and clarity. About to take off into the air. It's all wonderful. Successful ideas are born this way. New inventions are born this way. New ideas are inspired by the divine and appear this way. And if things work well, we take off. We start flying. There might be a period of needing to make decisions about what we just realized in the two. And then there's this weird progression through the swords of a lot of darkness generally, in especially the Golden Dawn decks. And this is a Golden Dawn based deck. This is based on the Smith-Waite deck. So we got this first one, this fresh burst of idea, which is wonderful. But then what happens? Then we got the Five of Swords. And this image is very different from Pamela Coleman Smith's art. In her deck, we see a figure holding three swords. There are two on the ground. There's wind blowing. But that one holding the swords in front looks a little bit mischievous, looks a little bit like they're maybe taking the swords away from the two other figures in the background. Maybe like there's been a battle, those two figures in the background have lost, this one in the front has perhaps won, or is at least cleaning up the spoils after the war, after the battle, and there's a little bit of deviousness and a little bit of winning, but at what cost? Here we have something very different, right? We've got this main figure, but looking down. We've got 4 swords moving from left to right. Is that the direction you're seeing? From this side to this side? 1, 2, 3, 4. And that 5th sword, I'm having trouble finding it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's back behind. It's in the hand of the centaur in the back, I think. So, is the centaur in the back the winner? Maybe. Is the one in front the loser? Maybe. There's that wheel behind the face that we can barely see here. This is the card of conflict, the card of disagreements and competition, but not playful competition like it could be possible in the Five of Wands. This is harsh competition, verbal disagreements. Winning, but at what cost? Cunning. Machiavellian ideas and thoughts of winning and conquering and beating, but not the physical fighting, but the mental fighting, the planning, the conniving, the strategizing. To win no matter what, no matter how much it hurts the other. And sometimes, do you notice that we can do that? We get this new idea, we get this bright new idea, and we latch onto it, and we, whether it's developed or not, we latch onto it and we think, so I'm going to make this happen. Come hell or high water, I'm going to make this happen. And we start going into this Five of Swords period of our lives, of forcing our new idea on the world, no matter what effect it has on other people, no matter how much pushback we get, be it blatant pushback or passive-aggressive pushback, whatever it is, we're going to get our way because we had this clever idea. So what happens if we do that? If we do that, we move right into the Three of Swords. And that makes perfect sense, right? Now, the three can, usually we think the three moves to four, moves to five, but sometimes five leads to three. And what do we see here? Instead of in Pamela Clement-Smith's card with the heart and the swords piercing in, and in some renditions of it, there's actually blood dripping from the heart, and there's rain falling in the background. Here we have a figure seated. Now this figure has a halo around them. This figure is a holy figure. But there are still three swords piercing not just the heart, but the entire body of this person sitting both in darkness and illuminated by the holy. Which gives me a brighter, both darker and brighter reading for this card. And I would generally think of it as, usually when I see the Three of Swords upright, I usually think of it as, now remember, this is a swords card. This is a card of thought and vision and air. A lot of people say it's the heartbreak card, it's the sadness card. And yeah, that can be part of it, and that is, I'm sure it is part of it, but that's not the meaning. The meaning is what we have learned from it, what we have understood from it, what we can know now from it. What has this pain taught us? That's generally how I would read that card. However, in this series, I'm going to read it differently. Because we've come from this brand new idea to fighting for that idea. And now I think that idea is what is killing, well, not actually killing us, but causing us heartbreak, emotional pain, sorrow. It's the heartbreak from our thoughts in this card. From those thoughts of attacking and defending and aggression for getting what we thought to take wing, to take flight, no matter what the consequences. When we go into that Five of Swords, I think always, in one way or another, it leads to this, that heartbreak from that fight. The sorrow, the grief, the hurt from ourselves and the hurt that we cause each other people. From being so aggressively fighting for and with our new idea. It's not saying that, okay, well then, so from now on, I'm not going to have any more new ideas because that's not good. That's not what we're saying. It's saying, yes, have the new idea, but be careful. Don't force the idea. Don't make the idea happen. Don't make it into what we think it is supposed to be. Because when we do that, then we're going to end up here. Win at what cost? This is the cost. And sure, yeah, we will grow. We will learn. We will hopefully learn not to do that again. And what is perhaps the other possibility? Instead of moving into the Five of Swords, it's to sit in the Ace of Swords and allow the idea to become of its own. Does that make sense? So we can skip over that Two of Swords indecision, that Three of Swords having to learn from heartbreak, that the Four of Swords, I mean, we could skip from the 1 to the 4, where we sit in that new idea, we meditate into that new idea, skip over the conflict of the 5, maybe move forward with the 6, so we've moved from 1 to 4 to 6. Maybe move with 7, where we, in the positive sense, where we can start going our own way with our ideas that have now developed more. Skip over 8 and 9 and 10 and move right into the page, where we've got this new idea, we've gone our own way, and now we're figuring out really what am I going to do with this new thing that has now developed. Does that make sense? That would be the alternate path, I think. But a lot of times we do this, and then this happens. So that was the top, a cautionary tale of how we block ourselves. Yeah, we blocked ourselves here by getting aggressive with our new ideas, with the thing we're so excited about, which kind of reflects that Justice card, right? That harshness from the Justice card, at least. So we've got something down in the earthen section of the spread. Let's take a look at the earth part right now. Here in the earth section, did you notice we had all majors? The top was a cautionary tale, the air. We want to pay attention to it, so it's in the air. It's all about thought, it's in the air. Here in the bottom, at our base, at our foundation, at our support level, we had majors. This tells us, at least tells me, that this is an important thing for us to pay attention to. And we moved in a very interesting progression from left to right. We started with the Fool. Then we moved to Justice. Again, upright. Justice again. We had that reinforced here. And then we moved into the Star. A very nice progression. Yeah. First, well, actually the Fool is outside of the septenary. That's true. In this deck, the Fool is really placed at the beginning. It's placed before the Magus, but the Fool can be anywhere. Then we got the Justice card. The Justice card in this deck is 8, so it is the beginning of that second septenary. And the Star card is in the final septenary. So, what about the Fool? Beautiful card. A little bit disturbing Fool, but a beautiful card nonetheless. We've got this figure that could be male, looks a little bit more female to me. Could be transitioning, could be transgender, could be anything, I think, really. Wearing a mask? Wearing the mask. That mask, I think, is the persona. Holding what looks like a mannequin or a dummy in the best sense of the word. Yeah? A puppet maybe, but maybe like a ventriloquist's dummy. And this dummy, this mannequin, is being held by the person, the self, with the mask, and dancing. It looks like they're dancing together, doesn't it? It's a beautiful card. Notice the hand of the human holding the arm of the mannequin below, how large that hand is, how much power and strength is there. And we notice that the mannequin has a dunce cap on, right? So really, a dummy. A dummy. So what is this trying to say? We got the self and other. The mannequin, the dummy here, is the other. It's, if I am the self, then you are the dummy. I'm not saying that, but you are the other. And if you are the self, then I am the dummy. I am the other. Now, not dummy as in the stupid one, but dummy as in the not fully alive one, not the full human one, but this image, this replica of a human, this empty shell of a human, this lifeless being that isn't fully fleshed out as a human being, right? It's maybe Pinocchio, even not only before Pinocchio becomes a real boy, but even before Pinocchio has been given the touch by the blue fairy of life, of animation. This is perhaps Geppetto and Pinocchio, when Geppetto had just finished making Pinocchio, and it's still just this attractive but lifeless lump, a collection of wood. I keep wanting to say lump. It's not a lump. It's beautifully crafted, but it's lifeless. And often that is how we see each other. We don't really see the full humanity of each other a lot of the time. And if you're disagreeing with that, do you drive a car? Most of us who drive cars, I don't drive cars anymore, most of us who drive cars do not fully recognize the full humanity of the being driving the other car. Especially if they don't do what we think that they should be doing, or if they get in our way, right? We don't notice every other human being as being full human beings all of the time. If for no other reason, we don't have the bandwidth for that. That takes a lot of awareness. For me to focus on you and all of the people in this building and in this city and in this country and on this planet, and let's just stop there because there's also life on other planets, but still, even that far, to be holding all of that humanity as fully fleshed out human individuals, it's overwhelming. It can be overwhelming. So we don't usually have the bandwidth even to do that much. So we focus on individuals when we can, and hopefully we fully recognize the full humanity of each other in that, but we can't recognize everybody at once, or it's difficult to. So what is here? We have the unconscious trying on a mask of personhood. Because this is the beginning of the journey. Yeah? The self is here, just starting out. And let's try this mask. Let's try this mask. Let's try this mask. It's the cosmic dancer starting to engage in the dance of life. Trying to figure out which masks I want to use and which masks am I going to set aside because they don't fulfill or match what I'm going to present in this environment with these people. And the puppet is the people that we are interacting with, but they are not fully fleshed out human beings. We don't fully recognize them. And we're also projecting onto them who we are. Do you notice how the mask of the self mirrors or is similar to the face on the mannequin? Yeah? We're also projecting onto the others, the other that is within us. Because we have our internal other, right? We have what we often call our shadow self. That part of ourself that we have othered, that we don't recognize as self. And it could be a wounded part. It could be a genius part. It could be that part of us that we wanted to present and other people said, no, that's not good. And so we othered it for ourselves. Our othered artist, our othered romantic lover, our othered mathematician. So we project those things out onto other people as well, while at the same time experiencing ourselves as lone dancers in the cosmos with this puppet that we're dancing with. So the papist, wow, where did I get that from? The fool embraces the folly of life, embraces the alienation and emptiness of the nihilist in life. The emptiness, the lacuna, the emptiness of what we're experiencing because there really is nothing here. Everything that we see is illusion, is a projection, and still dances on, and still enjoys the dance with the emptiness, and in the emptiness alone, in their own experience of this illusion and imagined environment. So in this deck, this fool is, you could say, the nihilist, coming into the world and beginning the experience, beginning the journey. And hopefully in that journey, we recognize that this dummy, that thing, the way that we see and are interacting with this mannequin is a projection. We can remove that projection, and then suddenly that mannequin will become a fully fleshed out other human being, right? So this fool is looking towards justice. Justice. And in this card, what do we see? We see justice. Where do we see justice? It's very difficult to see. Yeah, justice is the figure here in the center. And right behind justice, there is a spirit. The spirit of justice. And on either side of justice, there are four figures. The prosecution and the plaintiff above that prosecution, and on the other side, there's the defense attorney and the accused. So there's this whole courtroom scenario here. We've got the two attorneys, we've got the two antagonistic people, the plaintiff and the accused, we've got the judge, and then we've got the spirit of the law behind the judge, hopefully reinforcing and lifting up and feeding the judge as well. So in this, we have the eternal courtroom of our experience in life. And the times and the aspect of that life that is quiet, that is serious deliberation. It's the voice of our superego working in the world, which can either be the harsh voice of justice reversed or the teaching voice, the healthy teaching voice of the superego, of the compassionate judge of my experience and how I affect others. The superego can also be of benefit for us. It's not something we want to get rid of. We don't want to get rid of the ego. We don't want to get rid of the superego. We don't want to get rid of the id if you work in a Freudian framework. We want to heal all of those aspects so that they work in unison to our benefit and the benefit of others. So here, the quiet, serious deliberation of superego for the benefit of self and others, to prevent karmic disasters, perhaps, or to be able to mitigate the karmic disasters that we've already created. Now, that spirit of the law, that spirit of justice, is also Sophia and mercy in the human law. We have that. We have Sophia, the aspect of the divine which enters into and creates the world and is the mercy which calls back up. There is no up, but calls back up to the divine and calls down upon us what does the Course in Miracles call it? The atonement. So that we can experience the communion that we are in with the divine. Now, this card is in balance, and yes, it is an adversarial justice relationship, but there is still that spirit of Sophia, of the spirit of justice behind. Hopefully, we can allow ourselves to be informed by that. Because justice is both abstract and nebulous, right? Now we've got it all codified in the books, but really, even the stuff that's written in the code books still requires interpretation. Because even the written down laws are nebulous and abstract. And that can make us feel like we're burdened by the weight of the world in justice, right? And so what do we want to do? We want to listen to the call of Sophia. Listen to the call of the divine voice of mercy and wisdom, which we have access to. So the fool starts noticing the humanity of all of these other people, and there's this potential burden and potential weight that is felt by this need to, okay, so now all of these people are maybe equal to me, and now what am I going to do? How do I interact well without damaging myself and damaging others? How do I not become the plaintiff or the accused? The wounded one or the wounder? How do I avoid that? And how do I listen to the divine voice that I know is teaching me, is guiding me? Teaching, guiding leads us right into the star. A beautiful card. Here, the star is Sophia. It is Sophia. So we unite with Sophia. We listen to Sophia. We allow ourselves to be taught by Sophia. We recognize Sophia at our backs and with us. In the mercy of the divine, lifting us up. And navigating through life with celestial aid. So we've got the figure of Sophia here in the center. We've got all these figures around Sophia as well. Maybe begging for or asking for or seeking the assistance of Sophia. So in this card, in this deck, it's again navigation through life with celestial aid. And the perception of the grace and wisdom that is available to us. The divine is always shining on us. And that personification of the divine shining on us in this physical realm is Sophia. Sophia is a spiritual consort of the divine, right? The initial divine monad creates Sophia. Not from anything else, from within the self. And as such, Sophia is both twin and consort of the initial monad, the divine. So this is also reminding us of that relationship is also the relationship of us with the divine, We are the consorts of the divine. There's that human divine spiritual relationship of our eternal selves here having this physical human experience and the divine as this human self that we recognize is the consort of and is created from and with and by the eternal nature that we are, which is created from the eternal nature of the monad. And that informs us and gives us life, allows us to know that we are connected, we have help, we have mercy available to us, and we have guidance because of that. And did you notice these two birds in the background? Did you notice that these birds, the ibis, the ibis are connected with sacred wisdom and healing and the art of magic. So Sophia is accompanied by these birds of wisdom and magic as well, the magic of the magus. We maybe receive more power, more ability from these ibises. These ibises, is that correct? Let me know in the comments below. So this, I think, is running through this entire spread, that the magus, to clear away the obstacles that the magus is putting in front of our own paths. We want to lean into and open ourselves to Sophia, so that when the idea comes, we don't move into the Five of Swords to battle for our idea, but rather are able to sit in the new idea and look for guidance and our North Star that will move us in the direction that we really want to go, instead of fighting our way to it. Because when we find ourselves fighting our way with the Five of Swords, it's because we're not going in the direction of our North Star. The direction of our North Star is a smooth path. Now, there might be twists and turns in it, and there might be other obstacles for us to evolve with, but it's not a slashing through the jungle that we're trying to do in the Five of Swords, knocking everybody else out of our way, causing heartbreak for ourselves and others. So here, we accept that we don't know who we are in the Fool. We recognize that we feel like we're alone. We acknowledge that we feel like this is a little bit of a lacuna. It's an emptiness that we are existing in. Because that's our first step to recovery, is acknowledging that. And acknowledging that we're living with a persona or personae. Because we don't only use one mask, right? I've got my mask of the sun, I've got my mask of the professor, I've got my mask of the tarot reader, I've got my mask of the stranger on the street. We all have different masks that we use at different times, and that's fine, that's useful. But we also want to recognize that the mask is not us. And the projection that we are experiencing of other people, those aren't empty shells. There's actually somebody in that mask, in that mannequin. And we want to strip away our projection to actually see the fullness of the human that we are encountering. And so when we do that, we get to the Justice card, right? Which might start feeling a little bit burdensome. I mean, every word I say has an effect on other people. What's up with that? What am I going to do? Help! And so we ask for help, and help is there. Sophia is there for our help. Right? But justice is important here. In reverse as our obstacle that we self-create, but also in upright. We wanted to turn justice upright, and here we are shown that justice upright is also important on our path. And we're going to talk about this in the next video with Terre de Marseille. Just a heads up. But now, for the rest of this video, we've still got 2 oracle cards to give us some advice. Let's look at those. So friends, interesting, perhaps a little bit disturbing, aren't they, these oracle cards on the each side of that group of central cards, the 4 cards in the center. What did we have? We had this card, which is called Vision. Looks like this big eyeball in the sky, right? Looking up. And then we had the card of the Queen of Sheba. So let's start with the Vision card. In this deck, this Vision card is the card of hypersensitivity, of premonition, clairvoyance, intuition, and prophecy. It's seeing ahead and being very sensitive. Now, hypersensitivity. A lot of people would think of hypersensitivity as a negative thing, and it can be. Yeah. Oh, he's hypersensitive. He's too sensitive. He's or she is too sensitive, or they are too sensitive. I was labeled hypersensitive. Actually, I probably am still labeled as hypersensitive by some people. But hypersensitivity, yeah, it can be considered a bad thing. Something that makes the person difficult to interact with. Always worry, I have to walk on eggshells around you because you are hypersensitive, right? But there's another meaning of hypersensitivity. There's a more positive, of being not just sensitive, but being more sensitive than other people. Not the sensitive of, oh, don't say that, you hurt me, but sensitive of, I see more, I feel more, I understand more. Not the wounded hypersensitive, but the perceptive hypersensitive. And part of that would be our ability to see into the future, to know into the future, to intuit, to see into the future and to see within as well, to see within and gain wisdom and knowledge from within. Prophecy. And the next card is the Queen of Sheba. Beautiful card. Beautiful queen. You see the queen looking over her left shoulder a bit, and you see behind the queen this very interesting bird-like creature descending. Now, the Queen of Sheba, most of us probably know from either Jewish, Muslim, or Christian traditions, that the Queen of Sheba was the consort of King Solomon. The Queen of Sheba was considered not only a very sensuous and very sensual queen, but also one of mystical knowledge and power. And you see that the Queen of Sheba, in the background, there's this beautiful palace in the back. The palace that might be found in the Central or South Africa. It's just a gorgeous card. And a beautiful Queen of Sheba. Beautiful and very dark looking bird. But what does this card mean? This means confronting our truest desires. Knowing what we really want. And knowing which desires are actually from our own truth or are from our own wounded egos. Which I mentioned at the beginning of this reading a little bit, right? With the Magus. The Magus creates powerfully for the service of others, not manifesting from the things that the wounded ego thinks will fix it and make it happy, but creates from the desire of our truth, which is also of service to others, because we are here co-creating. And that's what our truth is. Our truth serves and supports and uplifts the truth of others. And in doing that, our creating from our truth is of service to others. Does that make sense? So what is our truth rather than our ego desire? Is it our ego desire that wants to go on a vacation to another country? because I want to escape, because I want to look important, I want to have pictures to upload on Instagram? Or is it our truth that wants to take a vacation to another country for our growth, for our expansion, for our interaction with people from a different land? It could have the same... we can't look at the result and know whether it's from our ego or from our truth. It takes that introspection, right? It takes discernment. Now, she's also the card, again, sexual attraction, material wealth. She was a rich queen. The thirst for knowledge. She wanted to know. She wanted to understand. And one way she was able to understand is by the help of this bird. Now this bird is here to come and help inform her, to whisper the secrets of her kingdom, of her land to her. And notice this bird and that ibis bird in the star card. I think those are an important association. So we get wisdom, we get knowledge from our spirit guide bird. Is that the way we want to put it? From our ibis. And I forget the name of the bird here in this card. But spirit is often recognized or seen as being symbolized by a bird. We got the Holy Spirit as a dove. We got the ibis as the bird of wisdom from Egypt. We've got this bird for the Queen of Sheba. So this bird could also perhaps be Sophia, coming to enlighten us, give us wisdom, give us understanding. So, these two together, what do we see? We want to look, we want to see, we want to be sensitive and perceive. We want to perceive what's going on outside. We want to see the other as fully human, of course, but we also want to perceive our truth, who we really are, so that we do create from our truth, so that we do learn from the wisdom, from the wisdom available to us. We can use discernment in our creation. And that's how we move past and through and clear away the obstacles that we set for ourselves. That's how we can live life more intentionally. Does that make sense? And then we'll have our entire kingdom that we can create available to us, with doors open for others to enter, not closed off like the Knight of Cups reversed. So yes, that is the message for this week. What do you think? Does it help? Do you recognize some aspects of yourself and how that might be playing out in your own life? Now, in a day after this, I'm going to be delving into that justice card a little bit more, because justice appeared twice in this spread. I think it's important. And I also want to know what justice really has to do with our intentional path. Is there a deeper meaning than what I have understood so far about justice on the intentional, on the river of our lives of intention? So, friends, I'd like to hear what you think. What does justice mean to you? Let me know in the comments below. What does this spread mean to you? Did you recognize any of your own obstacles, any of the things that you put in your own path? Were they the two that were described in this spread, or did you recognize something else? Let me know in the comments below. Also, if you haven't yet, hit the thumbs up button so that YouTube knows that you and other people have gotten something out of this and it draws other eyes to the channel. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe and hit the alarm bell so that you get notifications of when I upload videos. I'm going to try and do 3 a week from now on. I'm going to try. We'll see. It's not a promise yet. Also, Comment below. Really, I want to hear from you. I'd love to hear from you, friends. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.